The four afterlives of the Bible. Gehenna. Throughout the Bible, there are many mentions of other gods who tempt and sway the children of Israel away from the God of Israel. In this continuing series, Gods of the Bible, we will cover who these gods are, where these gods come from, and how these gods affect the Bible. Previously, we covered Sheol and the place of holding that all souls went to when they died. We discussed how Sheol was a dark and desolate place of waiting before one could go to heaven during the time of great judgment. We covered how this afterlife compared to other afterlives, and also discussed the Christian tradition of Jesus saving the souls of Sheol and Gehenna. Gehenna. When looking at the afterlives of ancient religions, humans share a similar fate. Most ancient religions have their dead travel to a deep cave where there is no light or warmth. These souls would wither and shrink into shades or shadow people. They would wander around these dark caves, confused, a mere shadow of their former selves. This afterlife is common for ancient peoples. The Greek, Hellenistic powers, and Latins had Hades. The Babylonians, Sumerians, and the other people of greater Mesopotamia equally went to a dark cave beneath the earth. The Babylonians called it Arula. The Bible is no exception. In the Old Testament, all souls went to Sheol. Sheol, like other afterlives, was a dark cave beneath the earth. Like the other afterlives, Sheol was a place where souls would wither into shades or shadow people, being a mere fraction of their former selves. Despite its similarities with the other afterlives from antiquity, Sheol had several key differences. I shall go down to my sons a mourner unto Sheol. Sheol is mentioned 66 times in the Bible and was and had always been a place of holding. When a soul went to Sheol, they too would become a shade or shadow of their former selves, but they would retain their identity. This was the first major difference between Sheol and the other afterlives. In the other afterlives, the shades would lose their reason and wander around. The second major difference is that Sheol is literally a place of holding, or waiting until the time of final judgment. During the time of final judgment, the shades of Sheol would ascend to heaven, where they would be judged by God, which is the final judgment of souls. The act of final judgment shows the temporary nature of Sheol, and how Sheol was always designed to be a temporary place of holding, before being placed to their final place of holding, which is heaven or hell. The last key aspect of Sheol that differs from most ancient afterlives is the segregation of souls. To most ancient religions, there is no discrimination between the souls. Both righteous and wicked souls share the same fate. However, the Bible does have a segmented place of holding, which is called Gehenna. Gehenna is the bottomless pit of fire described in the Old Testament. Abraham called it the fiery furnace in Genesis. A fiery furnace is identified with the gates of Gehenna. Gehenna is unique. The idea of a place of torment of wicked souls is found in other religions, but like Sheol, Gehenna is a temporary place of holding. The ancient Greeks and Latins had a segmented afterlife along with the Old Norse. The Greeks and Latins who were evil went to Tartarus. Tartarus was the lowest part of Hades. The Old Norse also had a separation for their souls as well. That separation was Valhalla and Hel. Hell was located in the lowest realm in Helheim. Unlike Gehenna, both Hell and Tartarus was more or less permanent. Gehenna was and had always been a temporary place until the time of final judgment, where a soul would be organized and placed in a rightful, permanent afterlife. There is debate on when Gehenna was created by biblical scholars, but where Gehenna finds its name is not. Gehenna finds its name in a real place, which is one of the three gates or doors into Gehenna. The first gate to Gehenna is the same place where it finds its name, and that is the valley of Ben Hinnom. Ben Hinnom is a valley south and west of Jerusalem. Ben Hinnom, otherwise known as Gin Hinnom, was the place of child sacrifice to Moloch. And they have built the high places of Topheth. which in the valley of Ben Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, nor did it come into my heart. Ben Hinnom was the place where the ancient Israelites practiced child sacrifice to Moloch. The ritual of Moloch would require that children pass through the fire and into a fiery pit. The pit was often located by Moloch's feet, with Moloch's hands stretched out ready to receive the children that would be sacrificed to him. The Bible describes the smoke from the fire pits never ceasing and the deaths of children never ending. So beware, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when people will no longer call it Topheth or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter, for they will bury the dead in Topheth until there is no more room. The slaughter of children was so great that Ben Hinnom would forever be associated with the place of punishment of wicked souls before the time of final judgment, Gehenna. The worship of other gods, and by extension Moloch, can find its origins in ancient Israel with King Solomon. King Solomon built the high places or temples on the Mount of Olives, where he and his foreign wives would sacrifice to foreign gods. This act of royal acceptance opened the door to idol and foreign god worship in ancient Israel, a practice that would take centuries to break. The Valley of Ben Hinnom is not the only gate or door to Gehenna. The Bible names two other places. The other gates of Gehenna could be found in the wilderness and beneath the sea. With physical earthly gates into Gehenna, that would mean that Gehenna is on the earth. This idea is not unique, as Gehenna is described as being beneath the earth and unmeasurable in size. With Gehenna being under the earth, that would mean that it shares a space with Sheol. The rabbinical texts in Christian tradition agree with this. In Christian tradition, when Jesus died on the cross, before he was resurrected, he descended into Sheol and Gehenna. While in Sheol and Gehenna, he gathered the righteous souls that resided there and delivered them unto heaven. From this deliverance, righteous humans would never need to wait in Sheol or Gehenna again, but instead wait for the time of final judgment in heaven. Through Jesus, he opened the path that led directly to heaven. By Jesus' actions, he made Sheol an unnecessary afterlife, as there was no longer a need to hold the righteous in a place until final judgment. However, there was, and it still is, a need to place the souls of the wicked until the time of final judgment. Perhaps this is a reason why Sheol and Gehenna are not mentioned or talked about as much as it would have been in the ancient past. Another source of confusion comes during medieval interference. Some sources of confusion come from the 16th century by Tyndale and the 17th century King James Bible. Since Sheol, Gehenna, and as we will learn in a future video, Hades, did not have an English equivalent, each of these afterlives were erroneously subsumed into the English word hell. For those who recognize hell having a similar name to Helheim and Hel of Old Norse mythology, this is not a coincidence. The English language has changed and was influenced throughout the centuries, but can find its origins in part to the Germanic peoples who colonized Britain during the fall of the Roman Empire. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes who colonized Britain and the British Isles come from the Germanic peoples that would have worshipped the Old Norse gods. For this reason, it is no wonder why Hel in Old Norse would be the equivalent to hell in English. This very same thing happened in the Bible as well. The New Testament directly invokes Hades and Tartarus to mean the Jewish afterlives that we know as hell today. This happened due to the Bible originally being written in Koine Greek, the language of the Eastern Greeks. Along with the early church fathers such as Origen of Alexandria, Clement of Alexandria, Tutorelian of Carthage, and Respius of Caesarea, who made the short list of books that would eventually become the compiled Bible, were originally from previous Hellenistic powers. There is no wonder why Greek words were used to represent the equivalence of the afterlife. In fact, even Gehenna is a Greek word to represent the Hebrew name for the valley of Ben Hinnom. Did you know the Greek original translation of the New Testament? Did you know about Gehenna? Do people still go to Gehenna? If Gehenna was created after creation, who was Gehenna created for? Let me know in the comment section below, and for more Supernatural History TV, like and subscribe.